So, Frank Stippler, 7 minutes 42.235 seconds around the Nürburgring.
Yes.
What was it like? It looked from our eyes like a crazy wild ride. There was a lot of work on the wheel.
Yeah, it was. I mean, every time you go direction limit, it's kind of work, but still, it was the most comfortable ride I ever had with such kind of a lap time.
Really? It didn't look very comfortable.
It was.
Talk us through how the day played out. I understand there was a bit of rain.
Yeah, it was kind of a challenging day for me because once that we tried to book the Nürburgring Nord Drive, which is more or less fully booked, we discovered that the only available slot was clashing with my GT German Championship Masters race. So
And that wasn't it. Nordschleife, was it?
This was Hockenheim. It was a 300-kilometer trip in between, and we need to ask my team boss if he allows me to leave just after the actually in the middle of the first free practice on Friday. So I jumped out of the wet suit and went to the Nürburgring, arrived just in time, changed it overall to the factory one, and then we discovered that by Murphy's Law it started to rain. 5 minutes after 2, we had a 4-hour slot from 2 to 6, and it was already clear, as it was a cold and cloudy autumn day, that it will be very tight until 6 o'clock if the track dries up again. And it did just in time, and when we wanted to start again at 5:30, I would say, it started to drizzle again a bit, and it was kind of a misty fog on the screen. But when we finally started the lap, the sun came out a bit, and as I had a car which was leading me by 1 minute by a colleague,
Okay.
This was the only possibility to have an impression to check out if the track is dry or slightly damp, because with a lot of tarmac changes, it's very difficult to see without any other traffic. I was the only car on the track usually.
How did you get those messages back? Was it radioed back or?
No, we had a radio connection, but mainly the plan was that I could have seen it because the car which was leading by 1 minute would have had put some spurs into the damp areas, but it wasn't, so it was completely dry, more or less, but I was nevertheless slightly too careful here and there where I arrived in some blind corners. So if I would have recognized that it is damp, it would have been too late in these areas anyway. So in these few corners I left some tenths of a second. So as a test driver, I'm very pleased with the result and the lap time. As a race driver who is looking for the perfect lap, I'm not 100% satisfied with the lap time.
How much time do you think you left out there?
I think it could have been 5 seconds quicker in perfect conditions. The grip of the surface was put away by the rain.
Yep.
So this is for sure around about 3 seconds, and another 2 I think I lost because I was in 5 corners I was slightly too careful. So could have been better, but as it was never meant to be the ultimate and everlasting lap time records, we are very pleased that we've beaten the former one significantly. That was the plan, and this is what we achieved.
And this is the actual record car, isn't it, that we're in right now?
That's exactly the record car, yeah.
It's not quite stock, is it? You had to make, like, it's got a cage, harnesses, racing seats, no back seats. Is that the extent of the changes, or are they mechanical changes?
No, nothing at all. It's more or less only the safety features, as you mentioned, the belts, seat and cage. And because of the cage, we had to dismantle the rear seats. But overall, this car was even slightly heavier. But talking about some few kilos.
Okay. About a minute into your lap, I noticed you made some changes on the screen. What did you change? Not Spotify, obviously.
No, as I mentioned before, we were running out of time because of the weather conditions. So we didn't have a complete warm-up lap. We had to compromise a bit everything, and so we compromised the warm-up lap by going opposite direction for 700 meters roundabout, weaving a bit, running the car into the brakes to heat up the tires, at least the front tires, which were there, but we knew that the rear tires were still too cold. And if you would have started the Quattro Sport system in complete dynamic, which means that the most of the power goes to the rear axle, it would have been too oversteering, leaving the corners. And so we started in neutral because the front tires regarding temperature were there already in the correct window. The rear tires were not. And this is how we went until Arenberg, Fuchsröhre, and then you feel already that the front tire go into direction too much understeering. On the opposite, the rear tires are in the correct window meanwhile, and then you switch the Quattro Sport to the rear, and what you've got then is that you end up with a neutral car, I would say, for the whole lap. Once the tires are completely warm anyway, you go always full sport and dynamic mode, and then you've got a neutral, part-time even slightly oversteering car, which is then balanced by the ESP and so on.
Okay, so was everything switched off, or was there still some traction control?
ESP, well, no, it was completely switched off.
Everything was off.
Yeah.
Did you have any moments out there where you said, "Oh," or
No,
it was a good, smooth, smooth lap?
Yeah, that was okay. Kind of a standard lap, I would say. It was a clean, fast lap with 95% of track condition, I would say.
Your primary role at Audi now, is it as a test and development driver? I mean, I know you still race, but have you scaled that back a bit, or?
No, but by nature, this will be maybe the future. I won't drive, I won't race forever, so it's 44 years old now. Maybe I can have another, I don't know, 1 to 3 years, but then as a professional factory driver, I think I step back a bit, and then it might be an option to go fully into the developments.
How many laps do you think you've done around the Nordschleife?
I have absolutely no clue.
But it's a lot.
It's 20 years of Nürburgring Nordschleife, and my hometown is not far away, 20 minutes from there. So, yeah, the laps were added here and there.
It's not a bad way to spend your days, is it?
No, it could be worse.
It could be
it's
worse.
A privileged situation, yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Frank Stippler, thank you very much.
It was a big travel for you.
Absolute pleasure.